Hello everybody, Calamity here, or at least that's what I would like to call myself in Cyberpunk. Today's video is going to be all about the brand new Chronicle banners that have just been released in this update. So if you're curious about what they are and how they work, I'm going to explain everything you need to know about them, and I'll share my 2 cents on whether or not I think the characters and the weapons that are on it are worth pulling. So first of all, to access the brand new banner, you just go to where you usually go for the banners, and you'll see here's Chiori, here's the rerun of Arataki Ito, there's the weapon banner, and then there's this new tab right here called the Chronicled Wish, and you'll see a big list of 5-star characters as well as 5-star weapons. Now the banner also lasts, as you can see here on the bottom left, it lasts just as long as the regular banner, so these will cycle. I don't know what they're going to be on the second half, or if there even is going to be a second half of this Chronicled Wish with different characters and different weapons. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But when you come to this screen, you're going to have the option of picking either a 5-star character that you see listed here or a 5-star weapon. Now also keep in mind that this banner eats your intertwined fate wishes. I kind of wish it kind of ate both your standard wishes as well, but that's a whole nother video, a whole nother debate topic for another video. So yeah, you are gonna need the intertwined fates, or if you never like convert your gems to wishes anyways, then you're fine. But just keep that in mind. Now, when you get to the screen, you gotta decide whether you want a 5-star character or a 5-star weapon first. So let's say I wanted Klee, because on my account I legit don't have Klee. So you would just click on her little picture, and then you click right here, confirm selection. And now when I do, I can now wish on the banner. I wasn't able to wish on the banner before until you confirm an option. Now once you do, keep in mind that the only things that you're gonna get when you pull on this banner are characters. Now I'm not gonna get any weapons, so don't think this is gonna be, you're gonna see some crazy pulls where it's like, oh, I got Eula, Mona, and Beacon of the Reed Sea and a Hunter's Path all in one 10 pull. Like, no, I'm sorry, that's not gonna happen. It'd be really cool if it did, but no, that's, you only get characters if you want a character, and you only get weapons if you pull for a specific weapon. Now, just like the weapon banner, you might be familiar with the fate point system. So this means if you pull any 5-star character that isn't the one that you chose, so let's say I get a constellation of Albedo or someone, for example, then I'll get a fate point. So what that means is once I have the one needed fate point, the next time I get a 5-star, no matter how early it is, it will be the guaranteed character that I chose, which in this case would be Klee. Now, also keep in mind that fate points do not carry over from banner to banner. So if you have a fate point, but you're like, oh shoot, I was short on the amount of gems, and let me just save up a bit and then I can pull them later, or on a future banner. That's not going to work here. You're going to lose your fate point when the banner resets itself. So make sure you have enough to get the character or weapon that you want. But also keep in mind that PD does carry over from banner to banner. So if you're like if you're coming up on a 50-50 and you end up being short, just remember that it will carry over to the next banner. If you happen to be just a bit short on your pulls. So that's pretty much how the banner works. It's a lot. I basically like to call them mega banners because there's so many things you can pull on them. And of course you can also cancel your choice there, but you will lose your fate point if you cancel your choice. Right, so the worst case scenario with this fate point system is that at most, it's just like a limited banner. If you're like really unlucky and end up having to pull into hard pity twice in a row, then the worst case is you're gonna have to do 180 pulls to get the character or the weapon that you want. However, that's still better than the actual limited weapon banner, which requires, for those that don't pull on weapon banners, you need 2 fate points for this. So worst case scenario for this one is that you need to do 270 pulls at most to get the weapon you want. Thankfully, it's only one. Again, I like the idea of this banner, but I kind of feel weird that there's standard characters on it. I know there's going to be some people out there that's going to be like, hey, it's fine that there's standard characters on it. I've been wanting Jean since day one and I never got her, blah, 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 blah. Like, I get that, I guess, but it feels weird having to use your limited banner wishes to get a standard character that's been available since forever. But hey, it is your gems, it is your wishes. You can spend them however you want to. And that's pretty much an explanation of the Chronicled Wish, pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I do like the concept of the banner, but I do feel like there could definitely be some improvements to it going forward. Now, let's talk about whether or not I think the characters and the weapons on this banner are worth it. And before I do, before anyone gets mad at me, please note that if you are a person that's like, I think Eula is hot and I really want her because I think she's really pretty and I don't care that she's physical is not the best team, like the best team type in this game, blah 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 blah, then pull for her. Like this isn't that kind of video. Like, I am here just to tell you from a gameplay perspective whether or not these characters are worth it, or if they're gonna make your life easier if you want to take on endgame content like Spiral Abyss. So if you want to pull a character because you like them, you think they look great, you like them in the story, they're your favorite, you've never pulled for them before, etc., go for it. Now, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about the characters that you can pull on this banner. So we have Eula, Mona, Albedo, Klee, Diluc, and Jean. Now, Eula is a character that I only recommend pulling if you want to really do physical damage, because she is still the best physical damage dealer in this game. She will outclass many of the 4-star characters in most cases because she does a huge burst damage when you do the combo correctly. She is kind of hard to play, but once you get the hang of her, big damage numbers. Next up is Mona, who is a standard character, so again, I feel a little weird that she's on here. But Mona is a debuffer. Her burst can do some damage if you like do some elemental reactions around it, but her main like playstyle is that her burst debuffs enemies, making them take more damage. She's mainly used in like freeze teams with Ayaka or Ganyu so that she can apply some hydro and as well as allow your main DPS to deal more damage. So if that's the kind of team you're kind of wanting to build, then maybe you could go for Mona. But you know, even these days, I don't really use my Mona that I got on the standard banner a long time ago. If you do want to go for constellations for her, she does kind of turn into a sort of like pseudo main DPS because her constellations kind of empower her charge attacks and stuff like that. Next up is Albedo, and he's going to synergize with the 2 characters that are also having their limited banners, both Chiori and Arataki Ito. He's a sub DPS that plants a geo construct. I forgot what it's called. It's like a flower, and it does geo damage along with your main DPS, and it does a good amount of damage, and it has a good AoE. Since his elemental skill counts as a geo construct, it does synergize with the whole Chiori and her tomato doll things and stuff like that. And again, also good with Arataki Ito because he's just on the field unga bunga smashing stuff with his Oni club. And, you know, Albedo can take advantage of that by doing extra damage alongside with him. So if you're looking for a Geo sub DPS to go with, along with your brand new Geo mains that you pulled for, he can be an option, although I'm not going to say he's a mandatory option. He's a nice option to have, but you don't need to pull for him. Next up is Klee. This is a character that was super popular when her first banner dropped, and she was considered one of the strongest characters in the game. However, she has since fallen off because characters like Hu Tao exists, and well, even the character next to her, Diluc, is a little bit more solid. Depending on how you feel about her, she can feel a little clunky to play as, and she doesn't really work well with characters like Jingcho or Yulan because she applies so much pyro that it's hard to vaporize it optimally, unlike Hu Tao's charge attack or Diluc's burst, for example. But she is a very solid pyro DPS, so if you do want to pull for her, she does have better character teammates these days. Like you can pair her with Farina, and she'll help boost that damage a lot. You can use her in a mono pyro team, things like that, and she will do absolutely fine. Speaking of Diluc, he has been, literally the definition of a solid pyro DPS, and ask any Diluc player. He does big numbers. He has a lot of teammates that he could be used with. He can use them with Farina, Jingcho, Yulan. Bennett, of course, gonna buff his damage as well. Lots and lots of options on how you want to build him, and he's again just very solid, not much to say there. Jean, not much to really say about her. She is an Anemo healer, a very good one at that. I would recommend her if you have Farina because she is the perfect character to synergize with Farina because she has a team-wide heal with her burst, and that immediately counters Farina's HP drain, so you can easily reach the maximum amount of fanfare, so there's really good synergy there. However, she's also a good debuffer because you usually give her the Veritas and Veneer. So when she swirls with an element, she applies a resistant shred depending on what she swirls with, and it's really good damage. Basically, I would only recommend her if you just need a really good healer, a burst healer for your team. Now let's move on to the weapons. The first one is going to be the Beacon of the Reed Sea. Now, for those that don't know, this is actually Dia's signature weapon, and this weapon was not available to be pulled on after her banner had expired. So we haven't seen this weapon for, I want to say, over a year now, and it's nice to be able to pull for it again. And this weapon is actually really good for a lot of characters, because if we just take a look at the, I believe we can take a look at the details here. Yeah, let's actually look at it. It's only on level 1 on this little preview, but it does give you a bunch of crit rate as a substat, so it's good for a bunch of DPS Claymore characters right off the bat. And then we can see the effect here called Desert Watch. I know my head is blocking some of it, so let's scroll up here a little. So it says after the character's elemental skill hits an opponent, their attack will be increased by 20% for 8 seconds. After the character takes damage, their attack will be increased by another 20% for 8 seconds. And then the 2 effects can be triggered when the character is not even on the field, and additionally, when not protected by a shield, the character's max HP will be increased by 32%. So right off the bat, this could be good for characters like Navia, Diluc. I mean, even Eula can take advantage of this if you end up not getting the Song of Broken Pines. It's just an overall, like, a really solid weapon. Like, both effects of this weapon can be taken advantage of by multiple characters, so you can easily get that 40% attack increase, which is really, really good. So consider that if you're just looking for a really solid 5-star Claymore for your characters, at least one that's not available on the standard banner. Next up is the Song of Broken Pines. Now this is the Eula signature weapon, so I will only recommend it if you are pulling for Eula or you have a physical DPS that you want to give this weapon to. Now you might be noticing I'm skipping all the Skyward stuff, and that is because, well, that's all the standard weapon stuff, same with the Aquila Favonia. And the Lost Prayer to the Sacred Winds is technically Klee's signature weapon, quote unquote, but that's also a standard weapon, so we'll skip talking about it for the time convenience for this video. Same with Wolf's Gravestone, also a standard weapon banner there. Hunter's Path is yet another weapon that shared the same fate as the Beacon of the Reed Sea, in that it was only available on Tignari's banner when he was first released when Sumeru came out, and we have not seen this weapon since that. So it's been over a year since we've been able to pull for this weapon, and this weapon is actually really solid. It ends up being Melt Ganyu's best weapon. Gives a bunch of crit rate, just like the Beacon of the Reed Sea. And if we look at this weapon's effect, you'll gain an 12% all damage bonus, just straight up. And then you'll gain the Tireless Hunt effect, which activates after you hit an opponent with a charge attack. This Tireless Hunt will increase charge attack damage by 160% of your elemental mastery. This is why it's really good for Ganyu, because when you're going for Melt, you do want to get some elemental mastery to increase Melt damage. Or any, reaction-based bow characters, to Tignari himself, obviously, since he wants a lot of EM with his spread teams. So this is obviously his best weapon. If he is a character that you are wanting to min-max, you definitely can consider this weapon. And that's pretty much it for the weapons on the banner. It's really hard to recommend them because a lot of the characters on this banner have suitable 4-star weapons that you can just, that they're definitely fine with just using. Especially Jean, right? Like, Jean is a support, so she can just use a 4-star. Same with Mona. You don't need a 5-star weapon for them to do well. And same with Albedo. Unfortunately, Albedo's best weapon was an event weapon that is no longer available to new players as of this recording. That being said, If you do have the extra gems to spare for a weapon, I would only recommend the beacon or the hunter's path as weapons to go for, simply because we don't know when we're going to see these weapons again. But I guess thanks to the new Chronicle banners, it might be sooner rather than later, hopefully. But these two weapons are really, really solid for a lot of characters, so I would definitely recommend them because a lot of these are already on the standard banner except the Song of Broken Pines, and that is only specifically for Eula or physical damage DPS characters, again, like Razor, Fremine, etc., etc. So, very niche there, but even Eula mains will tell you that you can get, there's plenty of good 4-star options for Eula if you don't want to get her signature weapon, and that's totally fine. And with that being said, that is pretty much it for the explanation and my thoughts on the Chronicled Wish banner. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. If you guys like this idea of a banner or what Hoyoverse could do to improve it, or are you guys even planning to pull on this banner? And if so, what are you guys gonna pull? And if you're not, why are you skipping it? Let me know. I'm curious. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.